Hello, everybody. It is important that we update you on what's going on in Nigeria with the protest. It is day two of the protests. Therefore, we do not want the day to close without us updating you on what is happening in Nigeria. The protest, as you know, started yesterday. They were announced all across the country in Nigeria, and for some reasons which are really specific, and they speak to the needs of the people and the fact that the country is not being run well, and therefore they were termed as end bad governance. So the protests against the bad governance that is happening in Nigeria, and of course, which bad governance has brought about agony within the country and suffering, a lot of suffering, unemployment, the devaluation of the currency. But we have spoken briefly on that in our past presentation and update on what is happening within the country. Therefore, today we are going to give you a little bit of course, update on what is happening within the news, the various news, what they are saying, and of course, the main platforms in Nigeria. And we want also to look at the demonstrations themselves. What is the level of consciousness that has been attained when we look at, for example, what is happening with the placards within the people? They have happened majorly in the northern part, in Lagos and Abuja, and in the southern part of the country, there has not been a lot of demonstrations there. But again, on one hand, what we are seeing is that there has been some death, especially which happened on day one. They say that about 22 people died during these demonstrations, starting with day one. So, which is not a very good thing, of course. But as we know, all struggles in most cases come with these things. They happen. Arrests. A lot of people have been arrested during this period. But without wasting time, let me go straight to showing you some of the news, what they're saying about these protests on day two. There has been, as I said, some death, about 22 people, unfortunately, lost their lives, and hundreds of people have been arrested. A lot of mainstream platforms, of course, are saying, like Indian platforms have been saying about 13 people died. The Western platforms are also have been copying that and saying Amnesty International is the one which said that 13 people also have died. And of course, they pinned it onto the police, the Nigerian police, that it is the one which killed these people. But we decided to look at the Nigerian news platforms themselves. What are they saying? What are the Nigerian news platforms? Because the Bloomberg, news platforms, Reuters and BBC and all those, they are the ones which are saying that in Nigeria, 13 people have died, and those people have died due to, they have died due to police brutality. That is what at least the Bloomberg, the Western platforms are saying. But we decided to look within because in our outlook we examine news from the source, from the ground itself, and Arise News for us looks to be more legitimate when we are looking at the news, and therefore it is saying that 12 people died. The protest in Nigeria turned violent on the first day, and 22 people, of course, died in it. And the South largely remained peaceful. And what they are saying is that the death was not necessarily caused by, was not necessarily caused by the police, but what they said, it was caused by what is suspected to be a Boko Haram attack, which led to the death of around 16 people. It was not necessarily the police attack. And even the police also came out to deny that they were not the one. But what we are seeing also at the same time is that in addition, there is other 6 people who died. So maybe it is possible that the 6 people, who were killed also, those could have been by the police. But what we are seeing is that there has been arrests. There has been a lot of arrests in the country, and mostly, as I said, in the northern part of the country. That is where in Lagos and Abuja, that is where mostly the violent, protests were able to take their toll within the country. Let me bring a little bit more news here so that we can see what is happening in other parts. Let me look here, because they say that about 300, more than 300 people have been arrested in various states like Kano, and then other places also. People have been arrested there. Let me look here. Let me see what Al Jazeera is saying, of course. Al Jazeera is also saying that tear gas as Nigeria's economic hardship protests resume. Security forces have fired tear gas to break up protests in the Nigerian capital, Abuja, as nationwide protests, against economic hardship continue. That is what Al Jazeera is saying, of course. That is what Al Jazeera is saying. And they're saying that curfews were ordered across several northern cities and states on Friday after clashes erupted in the city of Kano and Abuja the previous days. Human rights group, so-called groups, Amnesty International, said that at least 13 protesters had been killed by, in the three northern states. The authorities have not commented on any death yet. But what we are seeing in a Nigerian platform is that 22 people have been killed. So we will not take the words of Amnesty International because even these organizations, they are Western in their outlook, so we don't want to rely on them very much. They don't have really accurate information because they are not really on the ground. So they may be getting, half information and then they jump to conclusions. Amnesty International said that security forces were the ones which were responsible for the death of the 13 people in Niger State, Maiduguri, which is the capital of Borno State, and Kaduna, all in the northern part. They are saying that their findings so far show that the security personnel at the locations where lives were lost deliberately used the tactics designed to kill while dealing with the gatherings of the people protesting hunger and deep poverty. That's what Amnesty International said. Kaduna State Police spokesperson Mansour Hassan said on Thursday that the police had fired tear gas at protesters but had not used the live ammunition. So that is what at least the police say, that they are not the ones who killed the people. But we saw the report also from Arise News, what it said. So we'll continue to monitor this and see what what is the most accurate information that is supposed to to come out, and we are supposed to use or to rely on, which is very important in itself. Let me see the other news which is coming in, what it is saying about the arrests which happened. Let me share the arrests which happened also. 1212. Okay, about 126 arrests. Okay, they are saying there has been about 126 arrests, especially in Kano. These were 126 suspects were arrested in Kano, and of course they say that some of the reasons were because these people were looting. They said some of them were looting. Of course, that is the claim by the police, that the people were looting. That is what they say. So about 326 people have been arrested because the violence, of course, erupted, as you are seeing, that the police even started using tear gas. And as it is the government, sometimes also it is very difficult to ascertain what is the most accurate information to rely on, because the government, you find that the government also is trying to protect itself, is trying to protect its image, so it will not admit that they killed the people, of course, but even with these arrests, of course, they may want to put some fear within the people, all right, or even the killing. You may find that they may have been killing by the police, and the police can decide to pin it even on Boko Haram. And of course, it could be a strategy for them to to put off some people, to try to threaten people so that they will not join these arrests once more, or increase the arrests, as the people have said that they want to prolong this process for more than 10 days. So the police and the government, of course, is finding ways, is looking for ways to make sure that the people stop the protests by giving them a couple of promises, and of course also threatening them. So let's look at another place where there has been these kind of arrests in the state of Jigawa. There has been also some arrests of 55 people. Police in Jigawa state have arrested 55 protesters for alleged vandalism. It is alleged vandalism. That is what at least the police has said. Vandalism and looting of both private and government properties. That is what the government is saying. So this is the news also which is coming in from there. They say that some of the items were recovered from the protesters, including about 35 motorcycles, 3 tricycles, 12 bicycles, and then about and about 13 bags, 113, and about 13 cycles. They say that 35 motorcycles, 3 tricycles, 12 bicycles, and 111 bags of fertilizer, chairs, and 40 cartons of mosquito nets. These were some of the items which were being taken by the protesters. That is what, of course, the police itself is claiming. So those are some of the updates. Let us look at what the opinion, at least the opinion leaders in the country are saying. People like Peter Obi, what are they saying in the country? And of course, we will later look at the general outlook from a Pan-African perspective. What do we think about these protests? But let's go to Peter Obi and see what he is saying, and then of course Atiku, because these are the major opinion leaders in the country, and they of course have strong say in how the country is being run. So it's important to pay attention to what they are also saying, because it is very important. So Peter Obi came out later on. He joined the protest on the first day, but he came out to say that the government should make sure that it addresses the people's demands. Let us look at what he's saying in detail. He said that he's appealing to President Tinubu, to come out and address the demands of the protesters, of the people. Why is the president not addressing the demands of the people? So Peter Obi has appealed to President Tinubu to address the nation, not only to address their demands, but also to address the nation as the protests have entered the second day. So he said the government should come out and address. This is news, of course. Daily Post is also, Daily Nigerian Post is also coming from Nigeria itself internally. So that's why we want to get as more, we want to get as accurate as possible with the news, so that we don't get it from Bloomberg and all these platforms, which we, of course, we mentioned yesterday as Pan-African, analysts, that these news are mostly inaccurate, which they publish about the African continent, because they're not on the show, on the source. And besides that, they are very biased towards the African continent, and they have their own agenda, because they want to paint us always as people who are, in a bad shape, who don't deserve to be on the same table of humanity as the rest of the human beings, in the world. So, reacting to the protest and the demand of the protesters from his home in Onitsha, Anambra State, Obi said that the president should address the nation and attend to the legitimate demands of the people. And we see also, Atiku also, who's one of the leaders of the leading opposition parties, he said that it is time, for the president to heed to the voices of the people. He told Tinubu. So this is what is happening currently in Nigeria as we speak. The protests have entered the second day. So we want to see, even though they have not been as intense as yesterday, yesterday it was more intense, that there was a lot of people yesterday who joined the protests. Today it was a little bit, it was not so tense. It was not a lot of people, but nevertheless, they happened. So let us see what will happen tomorrow. Nevertheless, tomorrow still we expect that they will happen, because originally the protesters said that the protests will happen for 10 consecutive days. So tomorrow is the third day. So let us see how it will go tomorrow. Let me share a little bit more to see one of the highlights of these protests, which show the demands of the people, because the people are talking about the increased cost of living. But all these attached, all these demands with the Nigerian protesters are attached to the policies which Tinubu has implemented in Nigeria, and they have to do, of course, with how difficult the lives of the people have become. The people's lives are difficult. The lives of the people are difficult. That Tinubu is implementing certain policies that are unfriendly to the people, and that is the increase in fuel, the removal of subsidies, and of course which leads to spiraling increase in other costs of life. The cost of living have spiraled, and of course people are complaining also about the fact that there's a lot of corruption within the Nigerian government, and of course the ruling class itself also, it is giving itself huge salaries. They depend on the people, on the people, and yet the people are not benefiting from the resources, and of course that has to do with oil. They spoke about, we saw that the protesters also spoke about the Dangote oil refinery, that the fact that the cost of fuel cannot come down, because all the crude fuel is, the crude oil is being taken to abroad. It has been mortgaged off. So let us listen to one of the voices of the protest, and what he is saying about what is happening in Nigeria. Let me get him. Let us get him.
Tinubu and his son and 23 as a result of the exchange loss. Why will Tinubu devalue the naira when Nigeria is not yet a producing country? Tinubu has led us into the ditch. Tinubu is clueless, and if he's clueless, he should leave the place. The renewed hope he promised us is no longer working. Imagine he has spent 1 out of 4 years, and the whole economy has been turned upside down. Interest rate is now 26.5%. Inflation rate is now 34%. Our public debt is now 121 trillion naira. Tinubu took it from 77 trillion. Just in 10 months, Tinubu has borrowed 41 trillion naira. Our public debt is now 121 trillion. Just last month, they borrowed money from African Bank with our crude oil. They borrowed the loan. They have mortgaged our economy. They have mortgaged the future of you and I. The crude oil that is meant to be sold to Dangote for production indigenously to reduce the cost of PMS in Nigeria has been used to borrow funds. That is what Tinubu has done. Tinubu is the most clueless president as far as Nigeria is concerned. He has failed us, and that's why we are here. That's why we are here. Ṣé democracy lèyí? Ọlálékè Paul Okusanya, aka Synergy. where 2 plus 2 is equals to 5. For those that can decode the anti-log. Nigeria is a country that has been so blessed. We shouldn't be suffering because of petrol, because crude oil is our basic resources. But we are suffering for what we have. We are suffering for what God have endowed us with. Tinubu should leave that seat if he doesn't know what to do. In just one day, Tinubu removed the fuel subsidy. So in a day, he can also reverse it. In a day, he can fix the exchange rate.
So, as we are seeing, the when it comes to fuel subsidies, of course, this is something also which President, the former President Obasanjo, was against, that you cannot just wake up in one day and remove the fuel subsidies, which we are benefiting, a lot of people. And I think at the beginning of this year, it was last year, I think, when Tinubu just came to power, because he's been in power, I think, for close to a full year. We wrote an article, I wrote an article on this, that Tinubu needed to do a restructuring of the economy, not actually carrying out reforms. Those reforms, of course, most of them which are coming from the World Bank. And from the speech that we have just seen, it shows that the Nigerian people, of course, have gained a very reasonable and important level of consciousness when it comes to their country and their resources. And this is very, very important when we are talking about the transformation of the country, because the people should be at that level whereby they understand the core problem of the country. And of course, this brings us to one video which I wanted us to look at, because the placards, even in themselves, which are being shown, which are being carried up by the people, they are able to paint for us a picture of the level of consciousness of the people, who are carrying out the demonstration itself. So let's have a look at the some of the placards that the people, are carrying, and this shows us, to what's the level of consciousness, of course, of the people in the country. Of course, as we can see that there is here, they're talking about, end attacks on democratic rights, of course, which is very legitimate. And for a workers and people's government, they feel like right now the government, which is in power, is not for for the people and is not for the workers. So when you start talking about for the workers, it's like they are saying that this government is really not for the workers. It doesn't represent the majority. And these are terminologies normally which are used in Marxism, and of course, socialism. At the center of agitation here. At the center of, and of course, at the back here also, if I may bring this, at the back here, if you look at this poster, at the back here, they say profit soars, people suffer. The capitalist system. I think if I could see this poster very well. Is the right to free speech. Even if you do not agree, even if you do not agree, the person has the right to express. Is that so? Do we agree to that? So it's on other basis that I will bring in the assistant commissioner for police. Let him make. So when you look at the poster at the back here, it shows us that there's really an increased level of consciousness at the back here, where you are seeing where somebody is standing. It shows that there's an increased level of consciousness even among the people against the system, the capitalist system there. Because if you look at this, the previous speaker, he spoke about the fact that all the oil has been mortgaged off. Our resources have been mortgaged off. So this shows you that there is, a reasonable understanding of the global system and what is going on. Now, if you look at this poster here, somebody is saying that profit soars, people suffer. That's the capitalist system. All right. So this is the capitalist system. And so that poster there is very, very important. I wish you could bring it. Wish you could bring that poster closer so that we can.
And so, today is day 2, am I right? Yes. And we have 10 days to go, right? Yes. We want this struggle to continue, am I right? Yes. Please do us a favor. Our mentor struggle, can you follow me? He's standing right there. He's watching us. He's looking at us. Please, permit the officers to address us. Those people, it's called the committee, got intelligence report of certain elements who were searching ourselves inside the protest, doing surveillance and all of that. Some of them were even holding arms. I remember that myself, Comrade Juwon, Barrister Nibiye Funk, and a number of lawyers, as well as 1 or 2 journalists, including a journalist from Punch, decided to go to meet with the police to report that intelligence. I can't remember the name of the most senior police officer who was here yesterday that we reported. And they were Fatai or something. And the area commander was also there. What they told us more or less was simply that they were not interested in acting on those reports. In fact, what one of them said was that, have we been attacked? And we said, should we wait until we are attacked before you respond to this SOS?
So what we see actually is that there's an increased level of consciousness, and this is very important for the African continent, of course, and the African people globally, or across the continent and globally, because then this is an opportunity for Pan-Africanism, to rise and carry out mobilization. Because in the placards you can see that people are expressing that growth when it comes to knowing what is going on globally, that we know what is going on. These resources belong to us, and these resources are being stolen, from us. And then when it comes to the austerity measures of the International Monetary Fund, because most of these policies that President Tinubu is implementing in Nigeria, they are from the International Monetary Fund, who gave loans, and then they gave these conditions that he must remove subsidies. If we know anything about anti-people policies, most of these anti-people policies come from the International Monetary Fund. That is where they have always come from, simply because they want to take over the economy and suck out to the economy all the growth from the economy and send it to Washington, send it to the Western world, so that the Western world can continue to grow and suck the blood out of these nations which are just growing. So we see in these demonstrations, people are, terms like, capitalist system, is killing us, people friendly, government. That is what we are looking for. And others, we even saw some placards which are showing that we want a socialist in Nigeria. So it shows really a huge growth in the understanding of the people, and the environment in which they are living. But what do you think? What do you think that these protests, will be able to bring? Will they be able to achieve, the objectives? And where do we go from here? Looking at the protests that have been happening all across the African continent, you should have your say also. Put it in the comment section and contribute to Connect Africa, because this platform is not just for us, to come and talk to ourselves, but rather also is a place for contributing to that organization and bringing into being the Africa we want. We believe that we are in that generation, we are in that era whereby we should bring a new Africa into being. And of course, it starts with dialogue. So you need to make a contribution to that process. So I want to thank you, everyone who's watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you are new to the channel, and also to share, the update with others who are watching, all over, all Africans, share the platform with them, invite them to be part of the platform. And we appreciate you. Thank you so much for being part of Connect Africa. See you next time.